On the count of five, four, three, two, one. Hello and welcome to My First Million Dot Live, a podcast channel where we talk to first time entrepreneurs from all over the world and learn from them insights on building great businesses. We have today a very interesting guest, Arun Srinivas. He's the CEO of and co-founder of Short Castle. Arun built a platform called Chesslang, a platform for chess coaches to manage and train hundreds of students with ease, used by academic schools, clubs, and federations in over 60 plus countries. I picked this from his LinkedIn, but when we talk to Arun, we'll get to know in details. Now, for those of you who do not know, Arun and I were colleagues at Autodesk, and I always have known him as somebody very, very bright and somebody who always had a different mindset, so to say. He was not cut out for a regular employee. And I mean, usually things are when somebody turns into an employee, you always say, "Oh, he always seemed like an entrepreneur." But that is true. He was always different because the conversations I have had with Arun during my days at Autodesk, we had a lot of conversations on entrepreneurship and ideas around it. I was creating a lot of content on product management at that time, and he was more entrepreneurial. So we used to have a lot of common topics to talk. And then after a couple of years, I found him inevitably jumping the ship and build this company of his own, Chesslang. And over the years, I have been in touch with him on and off through messages. But it's a great opportunity for me today to know, get a deep insight into the journey that he has had. So very thrilled to have with me Arun. Let's welcome him. Arun, welcome to my podcast, My First Million Dot Live. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Ravi. Nice to meet you after a long time.
Yes, Arun. So very, very excited here, Arun. Want to know your journey in and out. Always admired people who are able to translate an idea into a real uh, commercial business. And it's not easy, and that's exactly what makes me very curious to know their journey, know what it took, because it's never easy. Know your challenges, what worked, what did not work, and eventually what transpired into becoming what it became eventually. So I went through your LinkedIn profile, and I also gave an intro, and I said that you are the co-founder of Short Castle. So when you say co-founder, who else is your founder? Who else is your partner? Maybe if you can say. And then there is this. There are two entities, right? There is the Short Castle and Chesslang. How are they different? How are they common? Maybe if you can shed some light there, that would be a great context setter to begin.
Okay, so to answer your question, the co-founders, I have a couple of more co-founders with me. One is my childhood friend, Raguraman. So he's also a chess player. And the other is Nagapan, who was also a colleague in Autodesk. And if you didn't know, he was also a rated chess player.
Is
So
it?
that's a
Ah, I
news
didn't know
story.
that.
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
It is. So, although he started pretty late in his chess career, but chess is something that connected us apart from the business. So, like you, we've always had discussions on entrepreneurship and startups. So I used to tell him about the product, but uh, I didn't know that he would become my co-founder. Because we
Lovely.
started first and then he jumped in at a later point of time. But it's been fantastic 2 years with him. So and Short Castle and Chesslang. I mean, Short Castle is the company, so Chesslang is a product. So Chesslang is, I mean, the product becomes a company, but yeah, it's kind of Short Castle is the company name, and
Got it.
we plan to build multiple products. So Chesslang is just a product of the company.
How lovely. So yep. So help us understand how did what is Chesslang? Maybe let's start by understanding what Chesslang is, and then I would like to understand the origin story of how you thought about coming up with a platform like this.
So Chesslang is a short form of chess language.
Mm.
I don't think I've told anyone, but the initial name was chesslanguage.com, and one of my friends said it's too long, but he just cut short it to Chesslang, and I thought, okay, let's get it down to chesslang.com, and that's how chesslang.com came into existence. But the idea has been, in my mind for a very, very long time. Probably I would say 2012, 13 time. This is when I had this idea. But 2018 is when, 2000, towards the end of 2018 is when, I was able to uh, get into the commercial space of this. So there's like, I was staying with my co-founder, the, the current co-founder Raguraman in Singapore. And so since we are childhood friends and chess players, we used to discuss a lot of problems in the chess and chess industry and all the companies that are around. And I kept telling him that chess, there are a lot of platforms in chess. Like there is chess.com. If you didn't know, it's chess.com, which is obviously the biggest. And, it's a playing platform for chess players. And there are quite a lot of other platforms. There is leechess.com, and there are quite a few that were there in that time, like 2017, 18, which were very popular. So I was telling him that there are a lot of playing platforms, but training is a
What,
different
what do you,
story
what do you mean
altogether.
by what do you mean by a playing platform?
When I say playing platform, you want to play with someone else in the world, online chess, so you
Right.
can go and play. Okay.
Got it.
But learning is a different story altogether, right? I mean, playing and learning are not the same. And a chess coach, on an average, I've seen my coach manage hundreds of students. So, and it's difficult. It's difficult to manage their performance. It's managed to see how they are doing over a period of time. This is really tough in a playing platform, and playing and training are two different things. So, and that's the reason we thought there is a platform. There is a requirement here, that uh, we should build a platform for chess trainers, which is exclusively for chess trainers from day one. And
So
that's how.
was the status quo of training already digital, or was it offline?
Yes, it was a combination of both offline and digital. So people used to share the screen and then make moves and teach. So we thought there is a lot of things that can be done, in the training space, especially chess is something that can be taught online, unlike other sports.
Right.
You just have a board and a couple of people are playing,
Right.
and, and there is also group training these days. So imagine like if there are 40 people, 50 people in the classroom, and you need to bring in engagement with everyone. So, and there was a need for the training platform, and I think we just entered at the right time.
No, but how painful was the need? Because as you said, it is simple, right? You share your screen, people log in. Okay, you can get into a Zoom call. You share your screen, and maybe if it is a multiplayer, the person on the other hand also controls the screen, and he just works it. So it's already solving it. What was the need to solve something that was already, good enough, isn't it?
The point here is, they were using different video platforms, and then they were using, you know, uh, for the chess they were using a different platform. Okay, it
Got
was not all in one. Okay,
it. Got
this
it.
is just online training, right? And the training is not just about the 1 hour sessions that you go through. It is about continuously sharing the materials and assignments and see how we are progressing.
Right.
So it's like back and forth discussion throughout, and it's not just one student. So a typical coach will have somewhere between 15 to 100 students, an average full-time coach. So and it makes sense to manage all the 50 students in one place, okay, in a streamlined way, um, than you know in a haphazard way in other platforms. So that's one of the reasons why we do this. And I've seen this, like I've gone through chess coaching in my life, and I've seen my coach manage students.
Got it.
So I exactly knew what the problem was, because almost 15 years I was playing chess, and I have a international ELO of 2050 something.
Got it.
So
So you imagined a solution which could make this even more seamless and a great learning a great learning platform for both students and the coaches. Is that how you imagined?
uh, so the idea is, the interaction between the coach and the student is not just 1 hour. Okay. and
Hmm.
it has to be continuous. Okay, and the coach has to share feedback. The student has to ask question, and then it just goes back and forth.
Right.
And the coach has to do for multiple people, multiple groups, multiple
Right.
schools, and he
Got
has
it.
to give report to parents, give report to schools.
Right.
Okay, and every parent is obviously going to question, right? I mean, because they're paying and they're going to question how my son is doing, or how my school is doing. So,
Right.
as a coach, when you get into profession, you need to. It's all result oriented, no matter what.
Got it.
And teaching tools and playing tools are very different, right? I mean,
Right.
like if you go to cricket, for example cricket. I mean, I'm just coming to a place where we understand, the game that we all understand.
Right.
Not everybody understands chess. So you don't play in a big ground when you play cricket. When you practice cricket, you practice
Right.
inside nets.
Right.
Okay. So the tools that you use when you're training and the tools when you're playing are very different. Okay,
I
and
see.
it's the same with chess. So there are certain specialization that we can bring in when it comes to training.
Right.
You know, versus you're playing, and that's the difference that we've banked upon.
Right. But do you remember the point exactly when you decided, you know what, this needs to be disrupted, this space needs to be disrupted, and I think I can do it. Do you clearly remember, or was it a phase over which the thought of building Chesslang over time grew in you, within you?
No, that's what I told you. Like, I had this idea in 2012,
Hmm.
and on and off I've been thinking about it, but never jumped into it really.
Okay.
And if it was not Chesslang, it would have been something else. So I always decided that I would quit at this age
Right.
and get into entrepreneurship, because I thought it's the right age to try out something in life.
And what age,
So
what age was that? What age was your goal?
it was around 30 to 33. So
Got it. And did you have multiple ideas, or were you fixated with Chesslang?
no, we did have multiple ideas. We discussed through it with my
Okay.
co-founder, and then we thought this is the space to attack. And we had really good friends in the chess industry who also helped us building the first version.
Got it.
So
And how did you prepare for getting rid of the safety of your day job into the uncertain territory of entrepreneurship? How did you prepare yourself, say, financially? Uh, did you plan for this for say 2 to 3 years, making sure you're married, you have a kid, I suppose you have one or two kids,
one daughter.
one daughter, right? So how did you plan for this?
Um, well, this was not my first startup. I had one more startup at the age of 22, 23. It was a very small one, right after
Mhm.
I completed my college. So I knew that at some point of time I would return back to this space and do something, big. So it was just a matter of time. So I was working here in Chennai for a company, and then I moved to Singapore. So, well, being in Singapore obviously helps you to, you know, uh, get a bit of stability in terms of finances, that you can, when you jump into startup, it is known that the next 1 or 2 years you might be salary-less, and you have to go through that phase.
Got it.
So, I mean, even if the company is profitable, you know, the
Right.
tendency is that you pump in all the money into the company for the growth. So,
Got it.
so I was ready for that, and I should also say that my wife helped me a lot, because she's supporting me, and when I'm not in the job. So it's
Got
kind
it.
of it
And
was planned.
this is the typical with all entrepreneurs. I have been talking to so many entrepreneurs in this channel. um, Everybody says that my wife helped me. Okay, that becomes a big help, big relief for entrepreneurs to get some moral support, some economical support from a wife who is also earning. So this is the common thread. Great. Excellent. So help us understand. So the idea came, and then how did you jump into it? So how did you get your first idea? How did you build your MVP? How did you test it along with your customers? Or did you build it all alone and then went to the market? How was the initial process?
Yeah, I must say that the MVP was not short, and we did make a lot of mistakes building a lot of things in the MVP. Okay,
Right.
but it wasn't all that bad because we knew the market a bit before. It's not that we had no clue about the market. We did have an idea, but we could have launched it a bit faster. So
Right.
it took about 5 to 6 months to launch since the idea, uh, and then yeah, like our success has always been that we did work with the initial set of users, and that includes my own coach, so who's been one of my pillars in my life, and you know, so he tried my product first with the students, and then got the feedback, and then having been in the industry for quite some time, we did have quite a lot of friends, so we approached them and then say, hey, test it out, and then
And what was the use
uh,
case for your MVP for the first version
the
after
first
5 months?
version did have a video inside, and we had just two modules.
Hmm.
One is for online training, and the other was for sharing assignments to students.
Got it.
And the online module was a basic set of tools with inbuilt video, and
Right.
we just used the browsers, basic WebRTC, and then went live for the first version.
Got
And
it.
along the way, we learned a lot about stabilizing things.
Got it. And how did you get your say first? So you are building with your coach and other passionate chess players maybe, but how did you first commercialize it? How did you get your first paying customer? What was the business model like? I mean, is it a subscription service or how does it work out?
Yeah, it's a subscription service. Obviously, the coach has X number of students. So,
Okay.
and we go by the number of student licenses. So if you want 15 license, 30. So we have four buckets. So 15, 30, 60, and 100, and 100 plus.
Dollars.
So, no, this is number of seats.
Okay.
So if you are getting into 15 seat, there is a pricing 30 seat. Uh, so 60 seat. So we didn't want to go and ask how many seats do you want, for a simple reason that we want to minimize the decision making time for the coaches.
Got it.
So we said buy it in 15, 30, 60, or 100 chunks. So
Got it.
even if they had like 10, 11 students, they bought 15, and then they ended up increasing the number of students.
Got it.
And our goal has always been working closely with all the coaches and making sure that they also grow using the platform that we've been building.
Right.
And uh, and uh, I still feel like it's MVP because from day one until today, we've been working extremely close with the users,
Right.
getting the feedback, instead of building whatever we want. Uh, 60-70% of the features that we built over a period of time has always been feedback from our users.
Got it.
So so that way they're also happy that, hey, these guys are listening to us, and they're happy to introduce other coaches to us, and
Got it.
that's how we do.
So is this primarily the customers are coaches or also chess players are your customers?
No, the customers are primarily the coaches, so we don't deal with the students at all. So
Got
we
it.
only deal with the academies and the professional organization, I would say, so,
Got
because the
it.
customers are also schools, colleges.
Got it. Help us understand, like building an MVP is of course tough, but you can, if you're good at it, building with customers, you can get feedback and build it. The biggest challenge for any new startup is how do you get your initial traction? So what did you do to get your say first 10, 15, 20 customers? How did they come about?
I think the friends covered the first 10, 15 customers. So
Hmm.
most of them were known to us.
Right.
And luckily, they were paid customers too. It's not that, you know,
Mm.
um, we gave them for free. So
Right.
uh, they did invest on us initially.
Right.
That gave us some initial confidence. And then we started running, Facebook ads, and we got customers from countries that we did not know that it existed. So um, one of the earliest customer was from a country called Suriname.
Country
Um,
called?
Suriname.
There's a country called Suriname. I didn't know.
Yeah, there is a country called. Yeah, even I didn't know.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So and yeah, so and at that time, like we didn't even know that such a country existed, and we were pretty
Mhm.
happy that the tool is being valued across the world. And after that,
Yes. Yeah. Nice.
we came
Uh,
to know many more countries.
got it. And I read 60 plus countries. Is that how it is today?
Yeah, we are in about 65 countries now.
So is this, first of all, did you have competitors who were already in the same space, or was it something unique that you brought into the scene for the first time?
Uh, we I mean, as I told you, the competitors were primarily the playing platforms. Okay, so uh, the USP that we had is, so we also white label the solution, private labeling. So which means we integrate with the academy's website. So for
Right.
the student, it looks like as if it's their own platform than
Got it.
an external platform, and that adds a lot of value, right?
Got it.
So
No, but so you are saying that you're still unique in terms of there were playing platforms, but for the coaches, this is something that you offered. There was none in the marketplace, isn't it?
uh, there was uh, there was none at this scale. Yeah, there was none.
Got it. Got it. Did you so after you ran Facebook ads and the word would have caught up in the, I'm sure there are chess communities, big chess communities. I'm not familiar, not a chess player. But is this now a prominent name in the chess communities world over, or how would you say that?
It is definitely at least in terms of chess academies and coaches. It is a prominent name, and we've worked with some of the world top grandmasters. We've worked with Judith Polgar. If you've known, she's the best ever player in the history of chess. So we got
Mhm.
an opportunity to host all her simuls, and so she runs a a club where she has a certain set of people from different parts of the world, and then she teaches chess like a master class.
Got it.
So we got an opportunity to work with her, um, and we work with some of the biggest universities like UT Dallas, um, and currently the world's youngest grandmaster. I think uh, his name is Abhinav Mishra. So he just became the world's youngest grandmaster a couple of weeks back, and
I
his
see.
coach His coach is Grandmaster Arun Prasad, and he was also one of our earliest users of the
Got it.
platform. So yeah. By now it's already a established platform in the market.
How long has it been since you released it to the market, Chesslang?
Um, 2018 end is when we launched it, so it's
Okay.
been 2.5 years.
2.5 years. So in the 2.5 years, how is the growth trajectory? Like, of course, I mean, usually you gain traction in slow, and then of course there's a hockey stick curve because then the word spreads. How would you say has your growth been in terms of phases? Like, did it take 1 year to get your first, say, 20, 50 customers, and then how many customers, if I may ask, if that is something that you're okay to
Yeah,
share?
we work with over 400 plus academies. So
Okay.
it's there public in the site, so nothing.
Got it. So 500 academies would not mean 500 licenses. No, 500 academies would be more than,
Yeah,
because
into
each
the number of students, and yeah, that's right.
right. So, the reason I'm asking this is, did it test your patience to grow, or were you happy with the growth as it came? Did you have to work really hard with investing dollars in ads and inorganic growth and stuff like that?
We did invest. I mean, not just in ad, also through other means in sales, marketing, and other stuff. So we did experiment a lot of other things as well.
Right.
But like all other online companies, definitely when people went online during this COVID period, so we were
Right.
also one of the companies that had the advantage of growing multiple times during this COVID times. So
Right.
2019 was steady growth, which means like we were consolidating the team,
Right.
and we were listening to customers, stabilizing the features.
Right.
So by 2020, January, February time, we started growing really fast, and
Right.
we're still growing. So
So did COVID help in any way to accelerate growth?
uh, I should say yes.
Got it. Yeah. So how easy has the journey been, or how tough has the journey been? Because it looks rosy. I mean, the way you see it, say it seems like it was all rosy. But did you have any dark days of where you felt this might not work, or you know what, we might need to pivot? Maybe your assumptions were wrong, and you need to make some changes. Could you share some of those uncertain phases of this journey?
Um, it's the same like job, right? I mean, uh, so every entrepreneur, if you go and ask, or every employee, if you go and ask, there'll be time when you will sit and think, are we in the right direction? Like, should we expand the market? And especially, when you shut down your ears, you will be in one direction. But when your ears are open, then people will come and say that you should expand into other areas of chess. You should expand into other sports. So there is always constant feedback from people, and especially when you go to investors, um, everyone gives a different angle, and because everyone has a perspective to tell you and advice to tell you. But at the end of the day, it's about the co-founders. What decision we take as a team that matters more than anything else. So until we definitely had multiple points where we thought we have to expand into other spaces, or you know build other stuff, because in a product you never know when you're going to end. So
Got it.
initially, when I thought when I started Chesslang, I thought I would be done with all the features in 1 year.
Mm,
That was my idea.
right.
And then after 1 year, I thought I would be done in 2 years.
Mhm.
And now I know the answer. It's not going to end. Okay, because
So the product gets better and better with more requirements. Is that how it is?
yeah, it gets better and better with more requirements. And sometimes you also have to think about the feature hell. I mean, are we just adding one more feature just because you know few of the coaches are asking for it, or is it really a problem that we're solving? So but chess is unfortunately a place where there are a lot of features in other platforms as well. So we ended up building extremely feature-rich platform, and that's one of the reasons why coaches love us as well. And we keep the coaches informed on every single features. We take feedback. What else should we build next? And we are trying to come up with this. And what do you think about it? So and I think. Every country, every every type of coaches, the teaching style is very different. So I felt that building the tools and solving the problems will never stop, because see, it's not just about the coaching problem, right? So
Right.
when it comes to startup, you pick a set of audience. Okay, so my audience is just professional community, or rather someone who runs an organization for now at least. Okay, so and every organization is very different, because we have chess academy is different from a school, is different from a federation. Okay,
Right.
and and it's different. Sometimes you've got to uh, take some bold decisions, like I always wanted to build just products, and I don't want to do services. So that was my, you know, um, I always wanted to do build products, but we had to do services, is because when I went and approached coaches, even some of the biggest coaches didn't have a website in the first place.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so and I cannot say that I'm going to private label, my platform. They didn't even have a website, and that was something that is definitely needed for them at that point of
Right.
time. So we set up a separate service division, and and I think we should have built at least 150 websites.
Hmm.
So we don't run that for profit.
Hmm.
So it's just a service where, as long as there is break even in that space, we are happy. We will just keep building websites for them.
Got it. But
But
that must be so much of accumulation of goodwill, no? Because and trust. because you're helping
Yeah,
them build a brand, and then they would automatically would want to buy your product eventually, isn't it?
yeah, that's true. Several big companies, federations, so we build website for them and help them grow, especially during the pandemic.
Right.
We've had several academies. I'm pretty confident you can call any of our customers and then ask, what do you feel about Chesslang? And you would know that we've sweat our time out with them, because with every single coach we've spent a lot of time, and at least one of the team member would have interacted for at least 1 hour with them in their tenure of membership with us.
Got it. So you mentioned about focus, and also you started getting unsolicited advice to branch out into, say, new areas of growth. How do you make a decision whether to start something new, as a adjacent product, or to keep your focus and capture more market share? How do you make those decisions? Because as a entrepreneur, you're always there are always so many new ideas. Let's do this, let's do that, and let's do five other things, isn't it? Because whenever the best thing about entrepreneurs is they have the best ideas, but they only have bandwidth for one or two. So I fish for ideas from them. But how was it with you? How do you keep your focus, and how do you
Yeah,
decide
two
whether
in
to?
itself. Two in itself is a big number. So even I would say that last year we thought we would expand out. Um, you know, but again, like even if one co-founder says that no, no, we have to stick back, so we stick back. Okay, it is. I think that was one of the best decisions that we've taken.
Hmm.
That we've never deviated, and
Right.
we've learned that deviation is it's tough. You just cannot manage two, three startups at the same time,
Right.
no matter how big or small it is. So,
Right. So
so
when
we've
I
never
when I
until today, yeah, until today we've never deviated from Chesslang. It's been Chesslang.
yeah, so when I said additional businesses, I did not mean completely new, but usually you add new adjacent products which are around chess. But hey, I mean, you're offering now purely for coaches, maybe something for students, maybe something for an industry. I do not know. I'm not familiar with the industry, but that's what I meant. Okay, branching out into different services and solutions to be the only player in chess, or maybe you understand what I'm trying to say, right? So
I
this
get it.
is,
I get it.
yeah. So this is the kind of decisions that I wanted to know. That do you have a rule of thumb saying that, hey, you know what, we have a great product. Let's focus on coaching. Let's capture 15% or 20% of the market share. Then we are good, and that is only going to be a high leverage activity. Then getting distracted.
Yeah, so we still feel that sticking on to Chesslang is going to be a good decision for us. Uh, but we are used to this game now, so we might expand into other spaces, but we will
Right.
take time. It's not that we are in a hurry that we are going to take a decision out of desperation or you know. One thing that I'm pretty sure is that whenever I get an idea, I sleep with that idea for at least 1 week.
Got it.
Okay. So when you get an idea, you will have that adrenaline rush to go and immediately implement the idea. But if you
Yes.
sleep with that idea for 1 week, you will have a
Mm,
totally different perspective.
that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
So, and I've thought about more than 100 ideas, validated so many different stuff. I must admit that. Okay.
Right.
But I sleep with that idea for 1 week. I don't jump on it,
Right.
anything.
Right.
But having built Chesslang, I can say that anyone can build startup as long as you know which community of users you are
Mm,
serving,
right.
and if you are loyal to that community and
Right.
solving their problem,
Right.
you could definitely build a business around it. So it's not just about chess, right? I mean, so
Right.
they have
Any
different
business.
problems, like I told you, they didn't have a website, so
Mm,
that was a separate thing, and we did build a lot of things around it, and which we did learn along the way, and that
right.
might even be another product in the future. So
Right. So you said you are around 15 people, right?
we are around 20 now.
Around 20. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, And you are profitable, isn't it?
We are.
And it was completely bootstrapped, or did you get some angel funds? And because you mentioned investors in one of your
No,
sentences.
yeah. So we did reach out to investors at some point of time, but we managed to stay bootstrapped.
Okay. So what's your opinion between uh, staying bootstrapped or going for funding? Because these days, even 50,000 funding gets a lot of press, and everybody just wants to be on press and stuff like that. How do you reconcile these two things?
I would say each one has got its own advantages and disadvantages. So if you're getting money from someone, then which means that you're liable for it, right? So
Right,
whenever you're raising fund, which means that it's not just your decision anymore.
right,
So you should also respect the decision of the investors because they've also put money.
right,
Okay, and we might have shown some direction for them, and
right,
you can't miss that, and
right,
because for them as an investor, the product is secondary. For any investor, they've put in money and they would like to get an exit, or they would like you to raise further rounds of funding where their
right,
valuation grows, and that would be their primary focus. But when
right,
it's bootstrap, you have it's all your decision. You have better
okay,
mental peace of mind,
right,
so you can go at your own pace. So
right,
with respect to investors, like there will always be pressure to move fast.
right,
So I think it is better to stabilize your product first,
right.
understand clearly what your market is, and then when you get an investment, that makes a lot of difference. People say,
Got
right, when you need to raise money when you don't need it. So
Hmm. Yeah, that's so true. I have had other entrepreneurs on my channel. They say the same, that first focus on building the playbook that runs for itself, and
that's right.
only get an investor to scale, because rapid scaling
Exactly. Yeah.
of the same playbook. The playbook is optimized. You have run it. You have learned. You have understood the industry. You have understood the pain point. There is a good problem solution fit. There is a good product market fit. But now, if you want to scale, because if you do it all by yourself, it might take the next 10-15 years. But if you get a good chunk of investor money, then you can rapidly scale in the next year or so. So, are you at that stage now? Are you open for investors to scale this, or how is it? What are your ideas?
Yeah, I think so. We are in that phase now.
Mm,
So we are looking for investors. But as I told you, like if there is no investment, it doesn't mean that the company is not growing. Okay, so
right.
so we
Got
are
it.
raising money just to expand, not to survive.
Got it.
So so we are growing at a solid and steady pace. Okay, but
Got it.
definitely, we know the game well now. So for example, after India, Russia is one of the biggest market, and
Of course,
we are
yes.
not there. Yeah, we are
Right.
not there yet. Okay, so we do have several customers in Latin America and United States, India, and other parts of the world,
Right.
but we haven't entered much of Europe or Russia. So there
Got
is
it.
always a scope of expansion, and especially there are several countries where chess is a subject that is taught in schools. If you didn't know,
Mm. No, I didn't know. Okay.
yeah. So it's like
Got it.
physics, chemistry. They study chess. Even in India, a couple of states announced chess as a subject in schools. Tamil
Ah,
Nadu and Gujarat.
nice. Nice. So good days. Good days. And the wind is in your favor, I think, isn't it?
Chess is growing, especially it's grown tremendously in the pandemic because
Is it? Okay.
yeah, because you cannot play any other sport, and
Right.
the only sport that can be played online is chess. And not just
Got
us, like there have been several platforms which has seen growth in
got
this
it.
period.
So,
So
so, so what are your immediate goals now, at this stage that you are in? You have 20 people working, you're building the product as such, you're growing at your own pace. What are your immediate goals, say, in the next year or so?
yeah, definitely we've got to expand to many more countries. As I told
Mm,
you, like chess is a sport that is played in 195 countries, I
right.
guess. As a, and every street in India will have a chess academy officially
Right.
or unofficially. Okay,
Right.
and learning chess for adults is very fast. I mean, even for
Mm.
kids is very fast.
Right.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, if you want to become a trainer, okay,
Right.
so you can't become a physics trainer in 2 months, but you can become a chess trainer in 2 months.
Got it.
It is because the moment you learn the basics, you can teach the basics.
Got it.
Okay, so there are coaches who are specialized in basics. They don't teach beyond that.
Mm.
So, and they take students only at the basic phase, and
Right.
then once they reach a certain level, they make sure that they pass it on to other coaches. So this is one of the very lucrative businesses for chess academies. I've seen academies grow from 30 students to 1,000 students in this pandemic period.
Got it.
So it is not a lucrative business from the platform side. There's been
Right.
several academies who've grown along with us, you know.
Got it.
So
So I'm sure many these academies might not have even explored the digital medium earlier, and now they were forced to, and it would have been a blessing in disguise because now there's no limit to how much they can expand, isn't it?
yeah, that's true. So I've heard from many coaches that they're not going back to the physical world. So they're going to stay online. So,
Nice,
and
nice.
this is from a coach who had 7 centers in a state, so 7
Wow.
physical centers. So they're not going to go back.
Got it. So help me understand what are your, when you say you want to grow, what kind of growth channels, what growth hacks, what kind of expenses and investments do you put when you are, say, growing in a new market like Russia? Is this, say, co-branding activities, or it would be investing in ads or getting, say, sales professionals? How does growth happen if you want to, say, double your growth next year?
See, beyond a point, any product reaches a maturity point. Okay.
Hmm.
And beyond that, it's not about the product anymore. Okay. Because um, if you ask who is Ravi, people will say that he's a product manager.
Right.
Okay, or he's a YouTuber. Okay, beyond
Right.
that, people do not know what it is. Okay, the
Right.
same way, like when you see a product, you will say that this is a CRM and this is this and this is that. And
Right.
when you hit a certain point of maturity in terms of features, so it's all about expansion, like how much you put in money to for partnerships, for markets.
Right.
So you need to have a scalable formula. So
Right.
so it's all about how much you spend for acquiring customers.
Right.
It's nothing new for Short Castle or Chesslang. It's the same formula that every company follows. And what's your CAC, which is the customer acquisition cost.
Acquisition cost. Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
But what is that
So
cost?
and
Is that cost spent on ads mostly? Because I think I'm
No,
sure you not. Yeah.
you need to know your channel. So it could be different forms of marketing. It could be email. It could be reaching out to salesperson. It could be through a partnership. It
Right.
could be ads. But overall, when there'll be a spend that is for outreach,
Got it.
and there'll be a spend for acquiring customers. So as long
Right.
as the customer spend and the outreach cost
Right.
is matching to a reasonable point,
Right.
your CAC is pretty decent.
Got
People
it.
say that you can go up to 1.5, 1.6 also for a CAC, which has a good customer lifetime value.
Got it.
Means
What
like,
is the good customer LTV?
typically anything which is 5 to 10 years is good.
Okay.
For me, it is more than that, is because just coach is a coach is a coach until he dies. So
And yeah, and maybe there is more stickiness to your product because a coach might not be technical savvy, and if he has already invested effort and the price is reasonable, he would not. It would be a lot of effort for him to move to a competitor, maybe, isn't it? So a
yeah,
five
that's
years.
also true, and we've also invested a lot of emotional quotient on our
Got
customers.
it.
So
Got
we've produced a lot of materials that help them grow their academy. And,
it. Got it.
so it was not always about us. So we've built features, understanding the market, and listen to them,
Got
and
it. So
we are
what I learned.
confident that citizen. Yeah,
So what I
go
learned
ahead.
from you.
Sorry.
What I learned from you is you have tried to actually impact individually each coach to help them succeed with a personal attention. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. So we've had a fantastic support channel,
Right.
and any bugs reported, we would act on it immediately. Not just not just me, the entire team, I would say.
Right.
Any foundation of a startup is a good team. So,
Right.
and I've been lucky to have good co-founders, good team, initial set of team,
Right.
and I'm definitely proud of it. It's all about how good the team is that matters more than the product.
Got
Because
it.
you could just build any product with the same team and be successful. It's just that the audience is going to differ, the problem is going to differ, but you will have that confidence that as a team you can deliver multiple success, and that's why you see that entrepreneurs usually don't stop with one startup. They just go building
They
next.
can't
At
help.
least they invest. Yeah, at least they help other startups grow by investing on them. And
Got it.
you
Yeah,
know
they can't help themselves, right? So it's like you grow and you cannot stop your mental and intellectual growth, isn't it? So it just
yeah. And if you
um
if you notice, the people that they invest would be the people that would have like probably helped them along the way to grow the company. So,
nice.
so we've
Nice.
also had several people who've helped us, and so it's time to return back. So we are also investing, and then helping them start other startups. And so,
Excellent. Very good. So talking about building team, what are some of your what is your playbook? What do you look for when you're building a team? I mean, especially let's start with co-founders. So what is it? What do you think are important traits to look for in a co-founder? Like, say, for example, somebody is listening to this interview and he has an idea and he wants to look for a co-founder. How should he find out complementary skills with a co-founder?
okay, the first thing is I would prefer it to be a friend. Okay, and if
Hmm.
you've known your friend for a very long time, if you can openly discuss about and debate, fight, and still stay together. So that's the co-founder you should look out for, is because in the initial days, definitely if you're going to work with someone who you had not interacted much, it's just not going to work out. Or in the initial days of startup, nothing will go your way. The product will have bugs. The customers will shout at you. It's common for every startup, and you have to go through that phase together.
Right.
And it is better to start with someone who is a friend,
Hmm.
especially when you're starting for the first time.
Right.
Okay, from the second time, it's all about, if both of them are entrepreneurs, they would know that entrepreneurship requires certain principles, discipline. Okay, so for
Hmm.
the subsequent startups, maybe you can jump in with random people,
Right.
but when you are starting for the first time, it is better to stick on with friends. That's my opinion. I mean, there has been several successful startups
Right.
who found a co-founder through other platforms, and but yeah, to me, like, I would love to stick with my friends.
Right. So I understand friends is important. However, there are economic side of things. Okay. I mean, friends also have to fend for themselves. Okay. They have a family to take care of. They have their own lives to take care of. At what point of time did you get your co-founder? Like, I mean, was it, did you have a stream of revenues coming in before you got your co-founders, or was it at the very outset? And did you have to like work for several months without any pay? How was it?
So after I quit, I had myself and Raguraman, who is my childhood friend.
Right.
So so I came out first because that was kind of planned. And then after 3 months, Raghu came out.
Right.
And then we felt that, so we are very deep into chess, and we're well connected. So it made sense for me to, get into sales role and talk to customers.
Right.
So, and that's when we got in Nagapan, into the picture. So
So
he
what were
came
the
in.
skill sets of each of you? So the three of you, what were the skill sets? So you come from a tech background, okay? So you
So I come from yeah. So I was both from a tech background, and also like in my last job, I was also into sales. I was into pre-sales,
got it,
so which means I did have some sales background.
got it.
So I was very comfortable with sales, talking to
Hmm.
people.
Got it.
So, and that's when I thought, having Nagapan would be a brilliant idea because so he is out and out tech and he would
Right.
love to stay in tech uh, while I jumped out to sales. And my
Got it.
co-founder Raghu, he's from a product background as well. So it worked out really well.
Product as in development or
So he was a product manager before jumping in. So
got
he
it.
was
So
not
you
a developer. So he was more into operations and product. Uh,
got it. Excellent. Cool. Great. This was quite fascinating. If I may ask, in this journey, which has been the most challenging thing in this journey? If you have to pick just one in this journey of 2.5 years, 3 years, what was the most, what was the biggest challenge for you?
not think too much. So yeah, the point is, you know, as as an entrepreneur, you keep thinking, because obviously when you're working in Singapore, from an Indian origin, so it's obviously there's a dollar pay, and you quit the full-time job and then jump into it, and you're putting family under pressure.
Right.
Okay, so you have a pressure to deliver. Okay.
Right.
So, and then, there'll be problems coming in the
Mm.
startup. So no matter what, you know, it is better not to overthink.
Right.
Okay. And then just, the, the daily discipline is what I'm still learning. I would say that maintaining a daily discipline is one of the best, advice that I would give to myself and
Right.
other entrepreneurs, or not just entrepreneurs, anyone out there. So
Right.
I've listened to a lot of your book summaries as well on habits and other stuff. So you would have known that,
Right.
unless, you know, because we get into a loop. So when you think something, you just you just get deep into the same thought of line, and then it takes a bit of time to come out of that decision, and
Right.
then think in a different direction.
Right.
So I think chess also kind of helped us in this route, is because as a chess player, we don't just play the move that we see on the board. So we have to think different variations before deciding.
Right.
So the same way, like, you know, the best advice I would say is not to think too much, but at the
Right.
same time, uh, if you really want to think, just have a thinking time and then executing time.
Right.
So no matter what the competition comes in, sometimes things might not go in the direction that you want.
Right.
There'll be a lot of hurdles. Like there might be some key employees might move out.
Right.
Okay, there'll be a lot of problems in a startup. But the
Got
most
it.
important point is you've come all this way. Okay,
Mm.
and there is definitely milestone. So if you've reached this milestone, you
Right.
definitely can reach the next milestone. So
Got it.
just
So
the daily discipline will do.
so as a founder CEO, how do you lead your team? Like, do you set ambitious, bold goals, or are you trying to be reasonable? Is it growth, 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 growth? That's how it is. But most CEOs are like that. What kind of a CEO or a founder are you?
No, it depends on what the other person, how much the other person can take in. Okay. So definitely, as I told you, like when you have an investor in place, so it's not just about your decision anymore. Okay, it's about someone else. You're playing with someone else's money.
Money.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not about just an idea. It's not about just you. It's about someone else's money. Okay,
Right.
so until now, it has always been how much ever we can chew. We've
Right.
never chewed anything beyond that.
Mm.
So we have pushed ourselves each other many times, but when we feel that we are burnt out, we will stop, chill out, take a fresh look, and then uh, move forward rather than keep burning out. So that would just ruin the company.
Right.
So far it has been pretty good. Like, you know we have a good understanding between the co-founders, so that has definitely helped us.
So as a founder, how do you? What are some of the? How do you structure and organize your organization? Like, do you have meetings where you have a dashboard where you have a few metrics to keep a check on? Like people have this balanced scorecard just to see if all the metrics are on track, sales are on track, revenues are on track, customer success and stuff like that. How do you ensure that everything is on track? You're in full charge.
Yeah, so as a co-founder or first time entrepreneur, the first thing that you would do is multitask. So you would be in marketing, you would be in sales, you would be the HR guy,
Right.
so you would be probably the everything from the sweeper to cleaner to everything.
Right.
So when you multitask, you might not know every field in depth. Okay.
Right.
So
Mm.
we've always tried to, and at the initial phases of the company, you cannot hire, specialized resources for every
Yes.
marketing or sales or something
Right.
and it is advised not to get in people when you don't know what it is.
Right.
Okay. So for us, like, we have clear ownership. So for sales, we have ownership, and for marketing, we have ownership. For tech, we have ownership, and then we all maintain separate metrics for each division inside the company,
Right.
and each one has a goal. Each division has a goal. Uh, like for sales as a number, and for product, we have a clear roadmap and milestones that we want to achieve, and for marketing, it's based on the sales target that we want to achieve, on how much lead generation that the market can make, the
Right.
marketing team can make. And so we've had clear ownership, and it is worked out really well. So,
So it's like is a weekly call for all the functions just to see how everybody's performing. Is that
yeah,
how it is?
sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's just monthly. So we plan, for example, for the product, we just plan once in a month.
Right.
And because we interact on a day-to-day basis, it's not a huge team, so we know
Team.
where
Yeah.
it is going.
Got
Okay.
it.
But certain things like marketing and sales, we got to connect every week, because
Right.
there is targets that you have to meet every month, and the marketing has to support the target.
Right.
So yeah, for marketing and sales, we meet weekly. For
Right.
product, mostly it's monthly, but it's almost like daily. But it's just that we
Got
have a plan for the month, and then we go
got
on a daily basis for the execution.
got it. Excellent. Yeah. So you wake up in the morning, and what's the first thing that you do about work? Do you have a dashboard where you see, okay, how are we doing with numbers and stuff like that, or what's your personal discipline like?
I don't see the dashboard. So
How do you organize? How do you
but
organize
one
yourself? How do you organize yourself? Maybe that would be a good question to ask, because it can
so
get quite overwhelming, right? So lots of inputs, lots of data, lots of functions, people issues, this, that, growth, investor conversations, lots happening on a CEO. Okay, how do you? What are the best ways without burning out? How do you be efficient and organize yourself?
I mean, some of the things that I personally follow is I block my calendar. So sometimes I do right in the morning, or sometimes I do the previous day. So I block into chunks of 30 minutes or 1 hour, the common Pomodoro technique that people follow. So sometimes it's like 2 hours of task. I just split it into two or three 30 minutes sessions. And I don't strictly follow Pomodoro, because the task just overruns, and then you just forget your breaks.
Right.
But most of the time, I try to plan my calendar a day ahead, and then just fill it up with everything that I want to do.
Right.
And then I would just stick to it. And even beyond that, like, there'll be deviations you just cannot avoid. Okay,
Right.
but at least 50 to 60% you can be in control. Especially like some days I would be very sure that no matter what, in the first half, I'm not going to take any calls. Zero calls in the first half. You know, um,
Right.
I just want to focus on the tasks that I want to do personally.
Right.
And then I would do those, and then all the calls I would shift to the second half. So that
Right.
way, at least you have one half of the day to be very productive, and second half for the team.
Got it. And do you also have mentors to get inspiration from, to get guidance from? Because you were pre-sales, you were a developer, but running a business is altogether a different game, because it needs new skills, it needs new scenarios which you have never managed before. So how do you get help from? Do you get help from mentors? Do you have friends in the industry? How's
So
Absolutely.
in the initial stage, I must admit that I did take a lot of advice. Okay. And
Hmm.
then at some point I decided not to take, because uh, I was in every group. I was in entrepreneur group. I was in this Slack group. I go and pitch there. I go and, everyone throws their own ideas. And then beyond a point, I thought, okay, let's just do what is right for us. Okay.
Hmm.
And then I stopped taking advices after probably like 6 months of the startup. The initial 6 months, I was in every entrepreneur group, every finance group, this group. I would at least be in 15, 20 groups. And then
Right.
that took like 20% of your time, and
Hmm.
just not worth it. Okay.
Right.
But yeah, of course, you do learn a lot. Okay.
Right.
But I do have my own mentors. I go and ask them, like, so what else can we do? Like, how else can we grow? And.
Right.
So I stick to one or two, not more. And I'm not in any groups these days, just because
Got
it
it.
is, yeah.
So at every phase of a product or a company's growth, it needs new skills. So do you learn on the fly? Say first of all, at this stage you want investors and you do not have experience. So do you just read up what is required to feel confident about a new situation or a scenario, or talk to somebody, or do you proactively read, because there is in context learning and then there is out of context learning. You pick a random book and read for an imaginary situation. Are you more of a in context learning, as in when things are required to learn?
No, I must admit that I'm a junk reader. I read a lot of book summaries. So I don't read books a lot. I read a lot of book summaries,
Books. Okay.
because that gives me different ideas, and different perspective from every different book. And if I
Right.
like some book, I would definitely go deep into it.
Right.
But most of the time, I would just not read one book summary, but probably like 10 book summaries. Okay. So even if one point has been missed in one book summary, the other book summary would cover it.
Got it.
So I'm a junk reader, I must say. It's not like whenever I need, I would apply. So it's, definitely whenever things are needed, I would just go on a reading mode for some days as well.
Got it.
Because if you want to make some decision,
Right.
I
Exactly.
would
That's
just
exactly
sit
what I want.
for, yeah. So, and you're unclear, so you do market research, you see other startups.
Right.
So, and you can kind of guess from the number of employees that they have, the number of, the crunch base should give you some idea about the startup. When did
Right.
they raise the funds? And based on that, I would understand that, okay, these are the similarities between these startups and,
Right.
our startup. And maybe we should do this, maybe we should not. So there is nothing right or wrong, but I do study other startups on how they operate, and that definitely helps us. And I do also study competitors. I learn a lot from them. So it's
Got it.
it's 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 good when someone comes with a innovative idea that you didn't think of. So you
Got it.
definitely have to give them the round of appreciation and try to build something on top of what they've built.
Got it. So, if I may ask you, the Arun before building Chesslang as an employee, and the Arun now, what has changed for you? What has the
Oh,
person Arun?
that's
How has Arun the person changed before and after?
a lot, a lot, I must say.
Do,
At
do
least
you
in
would you
on
want to explain that a little more clearly?
Well, it's about, for example, if you're going for a Euro trip, you might have in mind that, hey, Europe is like this, Europe is like that. Everyone has a mental vision, and the reality is very different, or it gives a unique perspective when you come to reality. So
Okay.
I've been carrying my startup vision for a very long time. So everyone has a mental vision. A startup is that, startup is this. Startup is nothing. It's just like a normal employment where you come in the morning, do what is your job, and then
Right.
it's just that you have the ownership, and nothing
Right.
else changes. Okay. So, and mental quotient is something that you have to take care of in startups, just because the difference between employment and startup is you don't know when to stop. So you
Hmm.
start your day, you can stop at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock, next day morning 4 o'clock. So I've been awake, the entire day, entire night, sometimes because I've had customers across the world. We have to stay awake, talk to them. So sometimes you burn out.
Right.
Okay, and so that's one of the, I would say, the number one problem is you don't know when to stop. So,
Right.
and that is something that I learned as an entrepreneur, when to start, when to stop. Um,
Mm.
Also, there is family and there is friends and your own personal time. When you start something, your entire mind would be occupied by ideas and ideas and ideas, and you just
Right.
keep going, going, going.
So I
So,
get that. I get that there is a change in the way you live, the way you work. Okay, you are stretched more now. But as a person, if I may ask you, as an employee, Arun, and now as a founder CEO, uh, how has the person changed? Like, have you do you think you have had massive personal growth, which otherwise you would not have as an employee? Do you see yourself growing massively as a person, as an individual?
definitely, I must say yes. Skills and all those aside, okay. So the mental health, how do you handle tough situations?
Correct.
Um, you know, so how do you stay calm when something doesn't go your way, when
Right.
something totally goes in a different direction?
Right.
Definitely 2 years back, I would, become tensed, and then I would also make others, tense. The entire team will not be in a comfortable situation to handle the pressure.
Right.
But these days I take pressure in a proper way. So everything, mentally, I must say that I'm more mature than what I was
Right.
2.5 years back. So that is something that every startup teaches you.
So people say being a startup founder or a founder of any sort is very stressful, and stress is not good.
It is,
So
yeah,
there
it
are two
is.
ways. There are two ways to see it. Either that stress helps you grow, you expand in capacity, you are able to take more ownership. Okay, Elon Musk can run five different companies. So just imagine his stress level, but he is still growing. But then there are other people who say that, you know what, it will just make me stressed. I'm happy with my job. I just go back home, chill out in the weekends. There's not much stress. How would you compare? Would you be willing to trade off again? I mean, go back to an employee who gives you maybe not as much as you are earning now, but still gives you a lot of balance in life and comfort and less stress.
So I've learned to manage a certain amount of stress by now.
Hmm.
So even if there is a certain amount of stress, I'm sure I can manage. But I know that every phase of a startup is different. In the next phase, that'll be a different level of stress.
Right.
But what I've learned is, unless you manage your stress, you cannot lead something, or you cannot run a company, you cannot own anything, because that stress will spoil your body, will spoil your company.
Right.
So we just have to stay calm, and it's not a word. You have to go through that. You have to go through the stress, come out of it. I did have a lot of health issues because of stress.
Right.
So I think I came out of it, and I can see that I'm mentally, as I told you, like, I'm mentally more mature. So,
Right.
so I think I can handle stress better. So it doesn't matter if it's a job or if
Right.
it is, but if I go back to the job, the startup mindset would still be there. I just can't be a normal employee. So I would love
Got
to see how that company is growing,
got
and
it.
I would love to be part of it. Then you can't come out of that mindset. So
Got
it's
it.
very
Got
difficult.
it.
You lived with that for several years. So.
Got it. Excellent. Well. This brings us to the end of a fascinating conversation with Arun. Arun, I am so happy to see you grow immensely, and of course, all that pent-up potential has now burst into the scene, and the world is benefiting from it. Because I always feel entrepreneurs, our world changes because they're actually solving pain points and problems for the world, and you're solving it for so many chess coaches. It's just so wonderful to see people like you, and all the best for you. And I'm very very curious to see how this translates into the next phase of your growth of the company and other products that you want to introduce and stuff like that. I'll keep a keen and close eye to that. So with that, I just want to thank you
Sure,
for your time, Arun. This
sure,
was
Ravi. And I would like to mention one thing. I wanted to
yes.
tell it at the last, okay, because everyone thinks that whenever you say that you are an entrepreneur, and then people say that, hey, you are a millionaire, so that's from the day one. That's from the day one. Not forget about the situation now. Okay. So everyone thinks that you want to become super rich, and people don't think that entrepreneurship is not just about the money. It's about
Mm,
the solving problems, right? I mean,
mm,
you get ideas not because you just want to make money. It's because
right,
you are fascinated about ideas, and you're fascinated about building things on your own, take control, the
mm,
way you want it. Okay. Of course, in job also you would solve problems, but you're solving someone else's problems. It's not the problem that you think that you can solve.
got it.
So entrepreneurship is about, first I would say solving problem. And I have seen companies who've taken this, you know making money out of startup, have all
Mm.
gone into drain. Okay,
Okay.
because
So that's the
that's an
wrong goal.
important thing.
That's the wrong
Because
goal to
yeah,
chase.
that's a wrong goal from the day one. And
Mm.
people tend to push you into that. Like whenever you go, hey, millionaire, it's like, it's almost like when you start up you become a millionaire. It's not that. So you're solving a problem, and money just comes along the way for everyone.
It's the outcome.
um,
Mm.
and yeah, you solve more people's problem, and then you get more money, and that's how it is. But
Got it.
if you think like, I need to grab every penny out of people,
Mm.
and
Mm.
not build product, and push, invest, and
Right.
that will just not work out.
So that
So
means
that's
you need
something that
patience. You need patience and long-term
you
vision. You
need
cannot be.
yeah, you need patience, and everyone should understand that it is not a immediate game. It's something that you need to play for a long time. And I must say that all my co-founders, pretty lucky that they are also not the kind of people where they think that the world is going to change tomorrow.
Got it.
So,
But
so
there are pressure from your parents, your relatives, your spouse. Hey,
no,
you left the job. You promised me the moon because hey, I am taking the lion's share of the expenses at home. Where is the money? It's already 3 years into the business. Okay, so
no,
this is
it's no, it's not that way for sure. Like I hope it's the same for others as well. The family is the one who understands you more than anyone else, especially my parents and my wife. So I don't think I've had any pressure from them, and that's your pressure,
right.
because they don't put pressure on you, and you've got a responsibility on your shoulders that so it's the time when you have to give them rest, and you have to take complete control.
Right.
So so yeah, I've never had pressure from my parents or relatives, or
Got
so
it.
it's about self
Got it.
pressure is more more than that.
Good. Just a question that I forgot to ask you. Can anybody be an entrepreneur, or do you think it takes a special person to be an entrepreneur?
No, definitely finances, I would say, is one of the things that you need to take care of, because if you cannot sustain yourself without being salaryless for you don't know amount of period of time, because it
So,
could be
so,
6 months, 1 year, 2 year.
so taking aside the monetary part of it, okay. Say finances is taken care of. Then, do you think anybody can be an entrepreneur, or it takes a
Yeah, I
special
think
person,
nothing,
special
nothing. There
personality?
is nothing. I don't have any special personality, or neither my co-founders. So
Got it.
it's about like you have passion in the idea that you're trying to solve.
Right.
That's it. Like you can pick any community. Anyone can pick any community of people that you want to solve, and how big the community, it decides everything, like your revenue, your product, and what kind of problem you're solving. Like how hard the problem is it a must to have, or is it
Right.
the kind of problem that you're solving decides what kind of money that you would make in the startup. But every startup will definitely solve a problem, and will get its own set of customers.
Got it.
So if it's not one idea, it's always the other idea for the founders. So because you never know. People say that you know everything when you come before startup. That's not right.
Mm. Got it.
So by now I at least know this can work, this cannot work, but that's all my intuition that I've developed as a startup, right?
Got it. Yeah.
Calendly is a $4 billion company. So
Oh, it was amazing. No. Yeah.
Yeah. So calendar, just a simple calendar. So if they can build it
Exactly.
into a $4 billion company, then I know many startups which are as simple as Calendly that are multi-million-dollar companies.
Yeah.
It's not huge product. It's just about distribution.
And also, there's
So
no PR. There are so many bootstrap companies which are multi-million dollar companies, and
yeah,
nobody
there are a
knows about
lot
it.
of them. A lot
Nobody
of them.
knows
They
about
just yeah, nobody knows about it.
it.
Nobody knows about it. And the
And they're
kind of
quite few.
ideas that you hear, you would be like, what? This idea is like multi-million-dollar company. Okay, so it doesn't matter, right? Many
Yeah,
people had the problem and they solved it. That's it.
right. So it's easy. So it's easy to build businesses because there are enough problems in the world to solve, isn't it?
Yeah, there are enough problems in the world to solve, so
Right.
it's easy to build business than to be in your career.
Right.
But there is no guarantee.
There's
So
no guarantee.
you could yeah, there's no guarantee. So
Right.
if you're fine with that kind of a lifestyle, and if
Right.
you know how to manage yourself and your family, then I think everyone should try out in
Right.
some point of time.
And you just have to be lucky, or you have to be successful once. Okay. I mean, you can try a series of
Yeah, if you're
ideas.
successful once, then you will have more confidence. I mean, it's
Yes.
just that
Exactly.
so it's a difference between as an employee attending the first ever interview versus attending the 100th interview, right? You would be
Yes.
100 times more confident. So
More
it's just the
confident and
confidence.
prepared
So
and
you
prepared.
wouldn't make the same mistakes, same silly mistakes that you made, you know, the costly mistakes that you made in the startup. You would avoid those, but you would end up making different set of mistakes. So
Got it.
it's
Got it.
not like you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, who holds you accountable as a founder, like so that you're not slacking or you're not getting lazy? Because I have this fear, if I because my structure at my workplace, I have to give my status report to my boss. I have my one-on-ones with him. There are statuses. So there is a structure in place which help holds me accountable. I cannot slip, otherwise I will lose my job. When you are an independent founder, how do you hold yourself accountable that you're pushing yourself in that sweet spot every day?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one thing is when you grow, definitely your the monthly expenses will keep you pushing. Okay. The second thing is it is always better to have accountability between the co-founders, just because we take different roles.
Got it.
So we have goals, in each. So if we don't meet the goals, you know, then it's time to huddle back again and then see why did we miss the goals,
Hmm.
why did the sales not go properly, and how can we restructure everything so that we can achieve things back you
Got it.
know so it's about I would say the co-founders, so we hold accountable for each other, so
Got it.
and that's how we go.
Great, excellent. Well, I will try again to wrap this up because we got into another tangent for a
Sure, yeah.
for a conversation. Unless, of course, Arun wants to add another insight, because we cannot
No, no,
ever
no,
get
no, no, no.
we
No,
cannot ever
it's like you can talk for days together, so
talk for
but
days. Yes.
I
And
don't think
what
the
I
audience would love to hear, so they would love to hear
yes,
from different experience.
and what I really liked about this conversation, what is was very, very casual, very informal, vis-a-vis some other entrepreneurs that I've interviewed who I do not know. And this is exactly the ease that you're talking about co-founders as well, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the ease that comes with knowing somebody for long and stuff like that. So this ease that we had in this conversation would not be repeated. Maybe somebody who is new and who's being interviewed for the first
Yeah, so
time.
you would think whether can you ask this question, or how would you
Yes.
think if you ask
How
this
do you think?
question?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So that's there. Yeah.
cool. Then it's a wrap. All right. See you guys. Bye bye.
Sure. Bye bye.
So Arun, you just stay back a bit.